Oh my god, guys, it is so hot today. Okay, I just have to show you this. Can you, is it too bright? I can't see my own screen. There we go. Yeah. Did you see that? I put up some of those, like, window stickies, some, Halloween window stickies, and it is so fucking hot that they melted off of my window. I'm gonna have to clean that up. Hi guys, it's Alice. So, fuck, it's hot. Ugh! If all my makeup is gone, it's because it is literally, not figuratively, 100 degrees outside. My window decorations have literally melted off of the window. I have no air conditioning in my bedroom, period. And in order to film this video, I had to turn the fan off. Man, it's hot! This is more goth than an electronic fan anyway. So today I wanted to talk about a question I get asked about a lot in my everyday life. What is goth? And I think that this is a question people ask a lot because it's something that's not really easy to define. It's something most everyone is aware exists, but nobody really understands. And I think even for people who are involved in the subculture, it's a little bit difficult to define because it means so many things and it means so many different things to so many different people. And so agreeing on one definition of goth is really hard to do. So I think the question, what is goth, requires a discussion rather than a definition. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how I understand goth and what it means to me. So disclaimer, my opinions may not necessarily reflect the opinions of the subculture as a whole. So first I'm going to talk about where the term came from. Because while spooky and darkly inclined people have existed probably forever, the term goth is actually fairly recent. It was coined in the 1980s, the early 1980s, to describe lots of post-punk bands like Bauhaus, The Cure, Sisters of Mercy, Susie and the Banshees, albeit somewhat begrudgingly by some of them. Looking at you, Andrew Eldritch. But regardless, a subculture sort of formed around these bands. People started dressing in all black and teasing their hair and wearing dramatic black and white makeup, emulating these musicians. So this is where the term goth came from, and this is when the subculture sort of came to be, which is why many people think that these bands are the core of what makes goth and what makes somebody goth. And I completely understand that. It's really important to the subculture's history to know about and understand these bands. But I also think that the subculture has evolved to be something completely beyond that. I think that the goth rock genre sparked it, but I think people like this have always existed. There have always been people who are just more attracted to the darker side of life, I guess you would say. The goth movement sort of created a place for these people. It's evolved to be a place that is just a safe place for people who have always been attracted to the darker side of things. So I think that goth is way more than just a taste in music. It's a way of looking at life. It's an appreciation for the darker side of life, perhaps a fascination with death or the unknown, the spirit world maybe. It's finding beauty in things that others might find creepy or disturbing, or trying to understand things that might be scary to some people. So I think that there are many things that can define someone as goth. There's a taste in music. In my opinion, even music in the subculture has evolved beyond just the traditional goth rock, but I'm going to talk about that later. There's style, which is obviously usually all black, but there's several different styles also that go with goth, and so I will talk about that later too. Actually, those two things, maybe I'll talk about those in a separate video, not sure yet. So there's music, style, and appreciation for a certain aesthetic. You know, spooky, dark stuff, maybe like graveyards, or like black and white pictures of black cats. Anything that's kind of spooky and eerie, or sometimes things like gore, in an aesthetic way even. Anything that takes something that's dark or scary, goths often are able to view these things as something kind of beautiful. So there's a certain music style, a certain style of dress, a certain aesthetic appreciation, a certain fascination with death and the unknown, possibly the occult, not necessarily. Goths often really love horror movies, or anything with dark themes. The fascination with vampires also comes from a fascination with death. And this is not, by the way, a checklist. It's not, you must like this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, and this thing in order to be considered goth. These are just several different things that goths might enjoy. They'll pick and choose from some of them. Not everybody listens to traditionally goth music, and some people say that means you're not goth, and I personally would disagree. I think there are multiple things that make somebody goth. Sometimes people don't dress the part, or don't dress the part every day because they can't afford it, or their work environment doesn't allow for it, or their family won't let them, or they just don't want to. Maybe they're too lazy, and I don't think that makes anybody less goth. I think it's okay to be goth and have gore weird you out, and it's okay to be goth and be kind of afraid of death and maybe not like the idea so much, maybe still be afraid of the unknown. And it's also okay as a goth to like things that aren't considered traditionally goth. There are some people who honestly think that if I'm goth, I'm not allowed to like this thing or this thing. And I think if anybody tells you that you're not goth because you like this thing or this thing, they're missing the entire point of what goth is. I mean, it's kind of a joke and a cliche, but you know, as a goth, we're non-conformists. And I think that some people really are just conforming to a different stereotype. And that's not what goth is about. I think goth is about being yourself. So if you like bubblegum pink, and you like magical girl animes, and you like playing sports, and you like, I can't think of any other examples, but the point is, goth is supposed to be liberating and not confining. So it's a label I think that's helpful to describe certain people with a certain attitude towards life, and it's not a depressing thing. It's honestly, the things that goths enjoy, I think the stereotype that goths dress a certain way or like a certain thing because they're depressed is a misunderstanding, because people who are not goth see those things as kind of depressing, but goths find it interesting, and it honestly, it makes us happy. We're dressing like this because it makes us happy. And I think that goth is supposed to be a means of expressing yourself. And if you're neglecting or rejecting certain things about yourself in order to be accepted by the community, then you're not doing yourself any favors, and that's not really what it's supposed to be about. I guess that's about it. So I was going to talk about the different styles of music that goths listen to other than traditionally goth music, and I was going to talk about the different styles of goth that have emerged over the years, but those probably warrant different videos, so I think I'm just going to cut this off here. So I hope that made some sense to you if you are someone outside of the subculture trying to gain an understanding of it, or somebody trying to get into the subculture who's still not quite sure what it means to be goth. If you are somebody in the subculture and you think there's something that I missed or something that I got wrong, feel free to post it in the comments. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned stuff, and I hope everything is going fantastic in your life and that you have a great day. So I'll post a video again at some point in my life. Maybe I can get back to posting once a month. Hopefully. So if you haven't already and you want to, you can subscribe to my channel by clicking right here, or not actually, I'm not sure if I ever actually got that button working, but it's here to remind you to click the subscribe button that's down here. So, until next time, I hope that you find happiness in life.